comes from director Enrico Casarosa and is his directorial debut after he made the Pixar short La Luna, and has been received as pretty much every Pixar movie is, unless it involves somehow a dinosaur, but not the one in Toy Story, the one that is supposed to be good. I guess it's not good. I still haven't seen it. But we get sea monsters here. Two boys experience an unforgettable Italian summer filled with gelato, pasta, and endless scooter rides. I don't think there's endless scooter rides in this movie. I think that's kind of misleading. Anyways, but all the fun is threatened by a deeply held secret. They are sea monsters from another world just below the water surface. The movie has been received pretty well. It's currently sitting at a 3.9 rating on Letterboxd, 7.6 on IMDb, and 71 on Metacritic. So, Lachlan, what did you think of Luca?
I enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a cute story of a young boy from his perspective, learning the ways of the monster world, in quotations, monster world, because obviously the monster world is our world. So I really do like Pixar because they have a fun way of making us look in upon ourselves and like how fucking crazy is the idea of pasta?
Whack.
Like it
Italians,
is,
right?
Like
crazy.
And Vespas and a treehouse and fishing. I liked it.
Yeah, first of all, before I forget this, how fucked up is it that these sea creatures who live in the sea are hunting fish?
Well, it's in the name, so why else would they? Yeah, it is pretty fucked up.
Wait, what's fucked up? We eat pasta. Care about
we
pasta?
We eat land animals.
Sea creatures.
I guess it's just part of the ecosystem. They just seem like they are the more intelligent ones, so they farm the less intelligent ones, which is actually just like we do above water. So I gotta read that.
This is getting meta. Anyways, I think Luca, for a Pixar movie, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a fun time. I will say it's not anything special or it doesn't stand out to me. It's just kind of there. And you're gonna have a good time nevertheless. You're gonna be happy,
Right.
You're gonna be sad. It's just fun, but nothing special.
Yeah, if you go in expecting a fun time, not to be like thinking about existential stuff as if you were watching Soul, then I think you'll have a great time. I think Luca brings kind of the typical eye-catching, vibrant visuals that is expected of Pixar, and the story of like two sea creatures wandering out of their comfort zone as they explore the land above the ground with like childish innocence, and they quickly proclaim that as long as they are together and explore, everything is going to be all right. Everything will be fine. Like that is like such a childhood fantasy of like living in the moment, and I think it captures that feeling quite well of just living and having that like really short-lived dream of like we want to have a Vespa and then we're set for life. It is such a fun outlook, and obviously a bit gullible, but then you kind of fall in love with these characters quite quickly. I'd say that like these are intriguing characters, but then we don't get much from them. I'd say overall we don't get a lot of intriguing stuff about Luca, like why does he want to wander above ground. It just seems like he's a curious kid. And I guess that's where like metaphors come in, where people would say, ooh, Kally, you mentioned this, the obvious vibes you get from being set in Italy, two boys, the call me by your name vibes. I didn't read into it that much, like in that way that I saw it that way, but you obviously can.
It's the PG version,
It's a PG version, and it's Disney led, so they would never go there explicitly, of course. I just had maybe a more general question that doesn't like. I guess you can tie it back to Luca, but I was wondering what makes a Pixar movie Pixar for you.
It's made by
Is
Pixar.
this movie maybe a bit? Dude, that's such a base take. Oh my god. Like,
Got him.
no, I
Got
He's
him.
not wrong.
all right. I guess moving. He's not wrong. I guess I'll hand this off to you, Kelly. Then. No, I meant more in the sense of, do you guys feel like this might be a bit less the Pixar that we are used to? Does it need those deep themes that this one just doesn't really have, in my opinion? It's just more of like a fun movie that doesn't tackle a lot of like deeper themes. Yeah, what were you guys' thoughts on that?
I don't think a Pixar movie needs themes to be a Pixar movie, because at the end of the day, they're not making it based. I don't think a Pixar movie's themes are going to make it good or not. I still really enjoyed this film, even if it doesn't have a deep and meaningful theme behind it. I definitely saw some great ideas, like this father-daughter relationship between Julia and her father. They're, you know, I don't necessarily need it to be like, oh, they've got this, you know, father-daughter rough relationship theme, and then that evolves over time. You can see straight away he cares for her, and he's got this tough persona, but deep down he actually does care for not only her, but obviously Luca and Alberto. Even if I don't care about spoilers, I'm just going to spoil it. Even if they are sea monsters, which he's a sea monster hunter, right? And I was like, I that's nice of him. It's like such a, like, you've got this idea that, you know, this town is so against sea monsters, and yeah, they are, because they've all got pitchforks, or at least harpoons and nets and shit to catch the monsters at the end. But this one character, the father, which I think was my favorite character because he was so tough, and he lost an arm, and that joke where he was like, a sea monster ate it, and I was like, oh damn. And he goes, no, I was born like this, and some of us are like that. And I was like, that's a cute moment. It's well executed. It's not overdone.
Yeah.
Luca doesn't seem to have this overall theme, and it has. I feel like it has a theme of discovering and obviously accepting yourself. Because obviously they hide themselves from the humans and things like that. And I guess it might not be a natural thing. It might be a natural thing that they do, because when they're dry, they are human, and when they're wet, they're monsters. But acceptance is, I guess, a big theme. But sure, it's not hitting as hard as some other Pixar films. Oh, well, okay, fuck it, fine. The most deep and meaningful Pixar film is like Inside Out. Like, it's literally about your emotions. Like, you can't get much deeper than that, other than talking about life. Or I mean, like, even Soul. Like, Soul and Inside Out are probably their two deepest, darkest, most meaningful movies, because they go into emotion, they go into a soul, what makes you alive, and things like that. I wouldn't say Onward had the same deep and meaningful themes. Yes, it had themes, which I think Ewan would be attracted to, but it didn't have
Dead Parent.
It didn't.
Love it.
Didn't have themes. Jeez, like
Yo, Dead Parent gang.
Yo,
We gotta
Dead
rise
Parent.
up. Yeah, proud.
But I mean, I don't watch The Incredibles and go, oh yeah, family dynamic, gotta love that. No,
Yeah.
look, I like
You're
Pixar
just fun
films
with it,
because they hit a good heartstring the majority of the time, and I don't really care about themes with Pixar films.
You know, I think bringing up The Incredibles is actually pretty interesting, comparing it to Luca, because I do think that they are maybe a bit similar, that they don't tackle like deeper themes, because one of them is a superhero film, but the family dynamic there is way more fleshed out than I think it is in Luca. Because in Luca, it is way more about these moments in between, not really the plot overall. We don't get that much in the relationships. I think the deepest relationship we get in the movie is between Alberto and Luca. And we can go into full-on spoilers. Now, we did our short little reviews at the start. So obviously, if you haven't seen it, you're probably not listening to us talk about it later on, but just be warned, from now on, we'll talk about spoiler elements of a children movie. I think you'll be fine, even if you haven't seen it. But that dynamic that is explored in a way that we have that kind of, to me, a bit forced moment towards the end of Act 2, where they fall out, like, as you'd expect. Like, we get those beats from that relationship, but other than a nice moment at the end where what Kally what I cut out earlier when Kally already mentioned at the end with the train, we don't get that many moments between them that I felt like, oh, this is something that I really connect to. I don't know, it felt really light, but it's I mean it's fine. It's just not really my cup of tea. I like it to be deep.
I'd say comparing the themes of a family relationship, or at least Luca's family relationship, to a movie literally about family relationships, because it revolves around 4 characters: a mother, father, son, and a daughter, and I guess a child as well, Jack. In comparison to Luca, which isn't about his family, it's about him discovering this outside world with Alberto. And I guess it does have obviously family aspects to it, like Alberto's father being non-existent and him hiding the fact of that. And I guess Luca's overprotective parents, they're not the central idea. They're just like a B storyline to the main A storyline, which their main A storyline in The Incredibles is their family dynamic. Like the first one is obviously them arguing and them not accepting them as superheroes and then hiding the fact, and then they full on go into it. And then obviously Incredibles 2 being more due to the fact, like the relationship between Elastigirl separating from the family dynamic. So comparing it to Incredibles is like an extreme in my opinion. But I would have to agree that in the sense that Luca doesn't have a core idea. Like they do have that family dynamic going on in the B storyline, and I do agree that like a separation in Act 2, or the separation of Luca and Alberto, felt very, very forced. Like there wasn't really any kind of, they didn't really show it, and it's just all of a sudden Alberto gave like a side eye when he got asked to come do some fishing, and then the next scene they're arguing and then overtaking the bike and then crashing and arguing at the beach and then reveal. So it all seemed to separate really quickly, and then they all seemed to came back really, really like straight away. Like he apologizes. I don't know.
I guess a sidebar for that, it would be to play devil's advocate, is that I guess they set up Alberto's character as someone who needs other people to believe his stuff. And the more that Luca moves away from it, and I guess it's not just like the relationship between Julia and Luca. It's more of like Luca finding his own foot in the world. It just means for Alberto, if someone's not like almost codependent on him, that he won't spend time with him, because he lacks that like better self-image of himself, because his parent kind of left him by himself, which like that is I wish that was even explored a bit more. But I think on the side it's also really nice to keep it light but have that theme on the side. I guess it is something that Pixar is pretty good at balancing, that we can have a lot of laughs, we can also maybe shed a few tears even in a movie like this, and it's just a general good time. I guess there was a difference between the two parenting styles. We got Alberto's, which are kind of just absent, and Luca's parents, who are overprotective. So what did you guys think of the B plot of the parents kind of looking for Luca? I'm Luca for Luca.
It was really cute to see the grandma like next to the overprotective parents. Like, yeah, I go there every weekend. I go play cards against this guy. It's not that bad. Blah blah blah. And the parents just freaking out. No, you can't go there. You can't. I think the grandma was one of my highlights. I was like expecting for her to pop up as a person.
Right, to have a big moment as well. Yeah, kind of like giving him the "Call Me by Your Name" speech at the end. Like, it's fine, Luca. I guess maybe let's talk about that. You can see obvious influences. The director talked about it as well, that he's a big fan of Studio Ghibli stuff. The obvious, most glaring comparison would be Ponyo from Hayao Miyazaki. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's also about a sea creature called Ponyo who meets a little like 5-year-old boy. So they're a bit younger. It's a bit more childish, but it also has a really interesting visual style, like very different from the rest of Miyazaki's work. But yeah, that one's the one. And then I guess Call Me by Your Name is just the vibe you get from it, the visuals and like I guess the queer undertones that you could read into it. I didn't see that much.
It's a children's movie.
Again,
though.
it felt just more like a friendship.
Yeah, I don't have any affiliation with Call Me by Your Name with this movie.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Like,
Despite the setting, I guess.
I see undertones or like similarities, but I'm not gonna compare gay romance to children. We can keep those worlds separate. It's just the fact that it's southern Italy with the trains, with the sea, with two guys, two boys. Yeah.
I think you could read the end moment where they like kind of crash and then they reveal themselves, and more people in the crowd reveal themselves as sea creatures, as sea monsters. You could read that as like a queer metaphor of like people not being ready to out themselves unless other people do it first, right? So it's like accepted already. But that's just a metaphor that you can read. I don't know if that was like really intended. It just is about acceptance overall. Yeah. It doesn't just that doesn't need to stop at the point of like end at LGBTQ plus things. But I mean, I like that if a young kid who is trans or is like queer overall see this movie and then feels like I can be myself. It's a nice thing to have.
It's okay to be
so that's always great to have that. There's also the director talked about it. I read a few interviews and he talked about that this whole thing was inspired by his own childhood, and he had a friend called Alberto himself. He just changed the name. He didn't want to actually name the same character Luca. He didn't want to name the lead character after himself. So to answer your question that you probably are having, Lachlan, right now, no, he wasn't a sea creature. He was an actual man, but he is Italian.
Are you sure about that?
I guess I can see if Mark Zuckerberg is among us. We can never confirm what kind of creature
acting
people
sus.
Are. Yeah. He's acting. I said among us. I didn't even connect them. Yes. But so I think one character that I want to highlight again, Lachlan, you brought him up already, was Julia's dad.
I wanted to add just before, because obviously you talk about like the two parenting styles. I'd say there'd be three parenting styles here: the non-existent, the overprotective, and the loving but not a helicopter parent, which is Julia's dad being the
like the self-sufficient one.
Yeah,
say,
maybe he seems like a tough guy, but he's really probably the sweetest person in that entire town. Just because his entire, I guess I'm looking too much looking deeper into this than I really need to because it's a kids movie. But his entire job, I guess, revolves around trying to get Julia to this school because it seems like it's not cheap, and then he's also got to support himself and housing and do this business, and she also wants to do this cup. So it seems like his entire world is his daughter, and that's quite adorable. Whilst obviously Alberto's father didn't see the same thing. And I would say it's the same with Luca, where the parents, or at least the mother because really wanted to see that crab competition that his dad was entering, because that seems to be his entire world. But Luca's mother, obviously her entire world is almost Luca, obviously to a different extent where she's a helicopter parent. So I really did enjoy what was his name? Massimo
something.
Was the dad? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked it up. I just wrote him down as Julia's dad.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed that character quite a bit.
Yeah, it was great. And I guess the last character I wanted to touch on was the antagonist, because that's maybe where I have the biggest qualms with the movie, where the biggest, it is flawed quite a bit more, is with what's his name? Ercole Visconti, the guy who's just the impersonation of Bad. I just thought that he was he was just a bit boring. Like there were a few scenes of the parents where I thought, I don't know, we could just not see those scenes and it would be pretty much the same movie. And it was a lot of the stuff that was like forced with the antagonist that was just like such a bad guy through and through, almost comically evil. And I guess it works for the story, but it just feels weird to have like a grown man competing in this and being the antagonist of the story. It is so bizarre in the sense that like I don't know, the parents wouldn't just be like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're being fucking weird. Yeah, so I wasn't a big fan of that side of the story. And I guess in the big and very highly acclaimed library of Pixar, where would this kind of rank if you, I don't know, get to split it into 3 groups of like top tier, middle tier, and bottom tier? Where would Luca rank for you amongst Pixar films?
Yeah, I can confidently say it goes into the middle tier.
I would say it would be in the top.
It would be in the top
What?
for you?
Yeah, it's a top for me.
Interesting. And wait, could you give us your rating with that as well of the movie?
Well,
did you give
I gave the movie a 3.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd. Originally, it was a
Right.
4. But again, there was a part of it that felt like it was missing that would have made this whole kind of movie a bit tighter and a bit. I guess it felt like it was a very like it wasn't a. It was a short film. I mean, it was only 90 minutes or so. It's like only an hour and a half, essentially. An hour and 15 minutes if you count like the 20 minutes of credits or whatever. But it felt like it had a lot of direction, but didn't have a focus. So I kind of brought it back half a star just by not being a dense, you know, it's not a clusterfuck of ideas and it goes nowhere. But there was a lot of things that, again, if I have to summarize it and simplify it, and Ewan can edit this to make me sound a bit more intelligent, but it loses half a star for not showing me the crab competition.
Right.
Setting that shit up and then, or not letting me see the actual dolphin impression that's like, you know, award winning, but you know, that's what it loses half the star for.
Fucking blue ball the crabs.
Blue ball
Which I guess
crabs.
no, yeah, not gonna go to. I hate myself for thinking that. I'm not gonna put this into the podcast, but
Ends up going in there anyway.
when no, it's not. It's not. Definitely not gonna be there. But as soon as he said tight and like something with sea creatures, for some reason my mind went to the mermaid pussy in
Oh my god.
the lighthouse. That was the first
Thank
thought
you.
I had, which is terrible because we're still talking about a kids movie. But yeah. So Kelly, what's your take on this?
So I said I would put it in the middle tier. I give it a 6 out of 10 just because it's not horrible, but to me it's just not amazing. That's pretty
Right.
much
Yeah.
it.
And I guess I'll run it out to have a representation in all tiers. I do think for me it would be more in the bottom tier of Pixar movies. Of course, it's still above the Cars films for me, which I have not liked a single one of them. Like there's some movies that I genuinely don't like that Pixar has made. I don't think this is a bad animated movie. I don't think it's a bad Pixar movie. It is just like comparing it to the other ones, I think it would just kind of drop some place in low, middle, or high, lowest tier for me, and I gave it a 5 out of 10. Maybe that is a bit low for a lot of people who really seem to enjoy it quite a bit, and I think it is a great movie to put on and just have a good time with, and that is generally just what Pixar is. But anyways, that brings us to the end of today's show.